The Defence Minister has proudly declared this week the Defence Force is growing again. And I've read, I think it's your statement, and I certainly read the Secretary's statement. Is the official one? Oh yes, it is your statement.
From this afternoon?
Yes.
Senator? Yes,
yeah.
That's my statement.
The Defence Minister has proudly declared this week the Defence Force is growing again. The last time we heard we were on a growth path, Senator Shoebridge pointed out you are actually on a shrink path going backwards in personnel. How many infantry sergeant positions do you have across the Army?
I might invite the Chief of Army to come up to better answer that question, Senator.
Sure.
Good afternoon,
Hi.
Senator. Lieutenant General Stewart, Chief of Army. While I'm looking for the specific numbers, I would offer to you that that's one of the areas at the sergeant rank where we are under the requirement, significantly under the requirement. Senator, I'll have to come back to you with those numbers.
In June, you confirmed you were deficient by 143 sergeants. You said you were responding to this with early promotion opportunities. That's quote, early promotion opportunities. That just sounds like you may be skipping people ahead without the necessary experience. How many corporals have you early promoted?
I don't have that number on me, Senator Roberts. You're correct in terms of one of the ways of filling those supervisory gaps is to promote people earlier than we would otherwise do. But in order to do that, we obviously have an obligation, and it makes sense to invest in those individuals in terms of their own development, and then through our collective training, make sure that we step up the rate of experience that they're able to glean. So, for example...
So I think I understand what you're getting at. That
yeah.
They must have the necessary experience, and you want to promote them to give them more experience. I get that. So how many corporals have you early promoted? Could you get that on notice, please?
I can get you that on notice. I don't have it with me, Senator.
And also the number of infantry sergeant positions you have across the Army.
Will do.
What is your current headcount for ECN 343, the infantry soldiers?
Again, I don't have those figures to hand, but we're doing quite well when it comes to ECN 343 privates.
What has that headcount for? What has been the headcount for ECN 343 been over previous periods? Could you put that on notice too?
It's been reasonably healthy, and if I recall, it's in the order of north of 90% in terms of the fill rates. It's not an area.
I'd like the actual headcount for the last 5 years, please, including the last year. Okay. Are you padding out the Defence Force numbers with non-combat roles to look good on the headline number?
No.
Could you please provide on notice your headcount for combat versus non-combat roles over the previous 5 years?
For
combat, headcount for combat versus non-combat roles.
So I just want to make sure I get you the right information here, Senator. Are you talking about across the entire Army or
in
infantry battalions?
Infantry battalions and Army as well, please.
So you want to break down from ECN 343?
Yes.
Which is infantry. There are other infantry ECNs as well in our special operations. You'd like those included?
I would like to know how many are actual fighting operation people and non-combat roles.
Okay. And
I'm wanting to make sure that we're not padding figures with non-combat people.
Well, I can assure you we're not padding any figures. Now, and of course, combat in terms of functions is broader than just infantry. It includes armour, which include tank and cavalry, combat engineers and artillery, air defence as well as...
Well, you can't be on my capability at the moment. So
I just want to make sure...
I'd like to know how many are non-combat roles and how many are combat roles?
So everyone in a formation is in a combat role. The function that they perform will differ across 3 functional lines: combat, combat support and combat service support. And obviously each of those begins with combat because we fight as teams, but people fulfil different roles in those teams, if that makes sense.
Then I'll leave it as a matter of trust in your hands. I'd like to know how many are combat and how many are non-combat. I know you've just explained that to me, but it doesn't make a lot of meaning in my mind. So I'd like to know what the numbers are, combat and non-combat, if you can give me the flavour for that and explain it.
To do our very best. I'll give you a full breakdown across the Army.
That'd be good.
In terms of combat support, combat service support, and we'll make sure that you get a breakdown in terms of core and the specifics in relation to ECN.
And if you could define the terms, please.
Yes.
Thank you. So I've got no understanding of the Army, or minimal understanding of the Army, so treat me as completely...
I'd be very happy to sit down with you and give you the Army 101 brief if that would be helpful, Senator.
It may be, but let's get the figures first. Thank you so much for the